Gonna work? A true crime investigator. That's what it's called. Yes. We'll get it to work with my friends. There we go. My thing's being stubborn. There it goes. Well, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, blast off! Are you ready?
Hey everybody, real quick before we get started, I want to tell you about a new podcast from our friends over at Stitcher. It's a serious, in-depth look at the story of Heaven's Gate. The new podcast, Heaven's Gate, talks to people who lost loved ones, people who still believe in the cult, to understand the cult's mysteries. Whatever you think you know, prepare to be surprised. It's hosted by Glenn Washington, and if you've heard his other show, Snap Judgment, which I personally very big fan of, you know it's going to be good. Glenn does not mess around. Plus, Glenn even grew up in a cult himself. Hear it for yourself. Subscribe to Heaven's Gate, the podcast, for free wherever you listen, like Stitcher or Apple Podcasts. Plus, hear episodes 1 week early and ad-free with Stitcher Premium. Hello to everybody who runs 100 miles for fun. This is Beautiful Anonymous. 1 hour, 1 phone call. No names, no holds barred.
I'd rather go one-on-one. I think it'll be more fun, and I'll get to know you, and you'll get to know me.
Hello everybody, Chris Gethard here, welcoming you to another episode of Beautiful Anonymous. Thank you for tuning in. I mean it so sincerely. Thank you to everybody who listens, everybody who signed up for our Facebook group, Beautiful Anonymous, the community. All of you guys, it's such a pleasure and an honor to be able to do this, and I thank you guys for supporting it, making it a reality. During these stressed out times of my life, it's such a pleasure and a joy to do this. Last week's episode, I gotta say, we talked to the Relaxed Satanist. A lot of you guys in the Facebook group, not psyched he was calling me Christopher. You heard that I was a little bugged by it. You guys really went to town. I was not that mad about it, but it was very touching to see how protective you guys were, saying, do not call him Christopher when he says he does not like it. I'll also say, I was fine with it at the end of the day, but thank you guys. Thank you guys for having my back. It was really an impressive amount of people who were mad he said Christopher instead of Chris. Want to let you know, also in the Facebook group, very cool thing, we broke 20,000 members. The mods there decided they wanted to do a contest, so they're doing a thing where you can actually submit designs for t-shirts, and so many people have turned in great ones. It's very cool. Thank you to everybody who's done that. Might be a few days left where you can get yours in, so if you want to join the group, see the details, they're all there. Do check it out. Also want to let you guys know, one of my best friends in this world has a new show coming at Earwolf, and I'm the guest on the first episode. It's called Dr. Game Show, and it's my friend Joe Firestone, and I'm telling you, this is going to be someone who is world famous in the comedy sphere in the coming years. She's brilliant, she's strange, she's inventive, she's unique, so hilarious, and has a show where people can call in and play game shows that listeners just make up. So there are all these weird game shows, and the rules are very ambiguous, and Joe leads you through them with her friend Manolo, who's as weird as she is. And it's really fun. I'm in the first episode. It's dropping Wednesday. It's coming out Wednesday. So that's a very, very good friend of mine. I'm on the first episode. It's a strange comedy show, but man, do I love it. You might love it too. So I hope you check it out. One last thing before we get into this week. I wanted to let you guys know, live Beautiful Anonymous, Gainesville, Florida on Saturday. I'm going to be there as part of Fest. Fest is the big punk rock festival, but we're doing a podcast taping, and you don't need to buy a thing for the whole festival. You can come to the taping, so I hope to meet a lot of Beautiful Anonymous fans down there at the old punk rock show down in Gainesville. Now, this week's show, so excited for it, so excited for you to hear it. I got off the phone with this guy, and I couldn't have been more impressed. He is an officer of the law. He's a very together person. He's a runner. He's also a person who has seen some stuff. I will warn you, he deals with crimes that are not pleasant in any way. Sex crimes, stuff with kids, murders. I don't want to spoil anything. I also just want to be clear. If you're sitting there right now and you're just eating your eggs in the morning, know that some stuff is coming down the pike that's not the pleasant stuff. But I will say this. I was so impressed. I feel like, so much of the dialogue right now surrounding police, and I certainly do pay a lot of attention to this, is, cops gone bad. You hear about people who break the law, push the law. You hear about the debates that happen. It was very, very fascinating to talk to someone who's clearly so good at his job and who so clearly has a priority on doing it the right way. and was willing to fill me in on just what that life has been like, what that path has been walked, and how sometimes maybe you need to run a couple 100 miles to get it out of your head. Real interesting guy. It was a pleasure to talk to him. I enjoyed it a lot, and I think you guys are going to as well. Let me know in the Facebook group. Enjoy the call.
Thank you for calling Beautiful Anonymous. A beeping noise will indicate when you are on the show with the host.
Hello?
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
How am I? I tell you, I'm very excited. The Earwolf New York studio, they got a lamp. They got a lamp in the studio, so there's more light than usual. I'm pretty psyched about that. Otherwise, I'm stressed out.
On a dreary day.
Yeah, nice dreary day.
What are you stressed about?
What am I stressed about? Let's see. It's funny because I have a really great life, but there's certainly a lot of pressure. A lot of people's jobs depend on me and my talk show right now. I'm trying to get it right. Not always easy. Not necessarily confident that the numbers are heading in the right direction. And I'm stressing out. But that's a good life. I still have to remind myself that it's a good life.
It is. Your show brings good things to a lot of people.
Do my best. Thanks for saying
Certainly
that.
puts my mind in good places when I need a distraction.
That's good. Now, how about you? How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Just hanging out, and I saw that you were starting a show. I figured I'd call. Typically, when I call in, it takes me, 50 or so tries before I give up. So I was surprised to get through today.
How many did it take this week?
I didn't count. It was quick. Probably 7.
Nice. 10. Thanks for sticking with it.
Fast, yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Glad I get to talk to you.
I love your show, so I'm actually excited. Yeah, and it's funny. It's weird. I guess you're going to be doing the interviewing today, but typically I do interviews, so it's nice to be on the other end.
Now, what's that intriguing statement mean?
Well, I'm a police officer by trade, but I work, a little differently than your average cop. I'm not out on the street, running radar or answering calls for service. What I do is I work for what would be like the district attorney's office, as most states call it. So I'm an investigator. Started my career in a prosecutor's office, in a sex crimes unit.
Whoa.
And I worked my way through there. Then I went to our major crimes unit, which handles homicides and shootings and police-involved shootings and robberies and all the violent things. And through my career, I've interviewed a lot of people, interesting for really many wrong reasons, but interesting nevertheless. So it's just nice. And I don't have to think as much for this interview, and I kind of welcome that.
Yeah. That's awfully intense. Now, can I just ask?
At times.
I wanted to ask, too, as a proud son of the East Coast, is that Baltimore or Philly that I'm hearing?
Well, it's interesting. No, I'm actually a North Jersey boy, but I relocated to the Philadelphia region.
You got the Philly. You picked up the Philly.
I'm sad to hear that, because for me, it's Taylor ham, not pork roll. I can tell you that much.
Thank you. Someone finally said it on this show. I don't know if it's been dealt with before, actually, but that is Taylor ham. It will always be Taylor ham. It's, anyone familiar with...
when I
Go.
Yeah, when I first relocated down to southern New Jersey, we went out, me and a bunch of the guys, we would go out for lunch, and I'm looking at a menu, and I said, what the hell is pork roll? I had never heard of it. Where I grew up, it was Taylor ham, and I had never even heard of pork roll. So, it's always going to be Taylor ham for me.
Yeah. And for anybody who's not familiar, who's not from New Jersey, we should explain. Taylor ham, a.k.a. pork roll, it's a hotly debated issue. South Jersey calls it pork roll, which is like calling it tissues. North Jersey calls it Taylor ham, akin to calling it Kleenex, more the brand name. People fight about it because people from North and South Jersey tend to like to fight. It can be described best as a very good tasting, clearly unhealthy mystery meat.
Absolutely. Certain to clog an artery or two over the years.
But you put it on a hard roll with some egg and cheese. Nothing wrong with that.
Pepper and ketchup, absolutely.
Look at that. Man after my heart.
Yeah. So you pick up. So I've picked up a Philly accent. Wow, that's the first I've ever heard that, because I'm always accused of a North Jersey accent.
Yeah,
so
I
welcome that as well, I guess.
Yeah, no, I can hear both. I can hear both now that you say it. I hear... What's the stuff that comes out of the faucet? What do you call that?
Water.
Yeah, you said it like Philly, water.
Yeah. Yeah, although if I say coffee, people accuse me of North Jersey.
Oh, yeah. Horrible, terrible, coffee dog. Yeah. And the city we grew up near... Here's another thing people should know. I didn't grow up near Newark. That's in Delaware. I grew up near Newark. Don't correct me on how to say it.
Exactly.
I grew up near there. A couple towns away. Tell me how to say my words. Anyway, that's you've had an intense life. How long have you been doing this? So you started in the sex crimes unit initially. When was that? How many years back?
It was 20 years ago when I started doing that.
So 2 decades of sex crimes and murder and all the really hardcore stuff.
Yeah.
That must wear on you. You must have your moments. I'm sitting here complaining that I get to host a talk show. Meanwhile, you're taking on the absolute worst society has to offer to try to bring justice to victims.
Yeah, if you don't find an outlet or a way to deal with it or manage your perspective on things, I think it would weigh on you an awful lot. But over the years, I've always welcomed that. Dealing specifically with sex crimes, which the way it's handled for the agency that I work for, they're almost essentially just child abuse investigations. So it's children that are being victims of sex crimes. And, it's the most horrible topic you could ever talk about or be exposed to. But what helps you get through it is you realize, very quickly in this line of work that you become able to actually, help this child put an end, to the abuse, that they're suffering, most frequently by people who are the very ones that they would rely on, for protection. So there's some redeeming qualities in being stuck in those investigations and trying to make a difference for the world. So, that has a way of helping you get through it and deal with what you're forced to deal with.
Yeah, that's real. I will say right out of the gate, so I don't forget, just on a basic level, thank you for, it takes a very strong person to take that on, and clearly it's one of the worst things that, and, anytime a story like that comes up, I think universally agreed upon that it's one of the worst, most deplorable things that happens, so thank you for being one of the people trying to help, like you say.
Yeah, well, I guess you're welcome. I don't know what to say to that because, there's the only thanks in this job is just, trying to put an end to that one person's suffering. And, you don't look for any celebration of your effort. And, it's kind of, for me, it's hard to acknowledge that because, you don't want to be celebrated for doing something that is just the right thing to do, Yeah. So, but thank you anyhow.
No, please. I appreciate that. I understand that. I would also imagine when it's your life, you have to compartmentalize, and even being thanked, I would imagine, is like, yeah, well, that can't be the sum total of things, but still, I think on behalf of all of us listening, a very for real thank you for taking it on. And I would imagine, so I don't want to get too graphic. I don't want to, anything you're just not in the mood to talk about, let me know. But I would imagine there's there's probably a lot of kiddie porn, trafficking stuff. Is that a lot of what you've seen over the years?
Yes and no. As an investigator, not so much. But as I advanced in my career and moved away from being the frontline detective and moving up, as a supervisor, with technology, the way we investigated those things and the way we came across child pornography became easier for us to target. And the reality is that child pornography is so prolific that it's like the proverbial shooting fish in a barrel. If you wanted to set your sights on just say, we're going to target 15 people over the next month, you can do it regionally, wherever you work. It's just going on so prevalently that we can't even, we deal with what comes into us that we don't